And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's live product demo with Deepblocks. My name is Michael Cavone, Chief Revenue Officer, as I will be guiding you through our live product demo throughout Charlotte, North Carolina. Our main focus this week is going to be industrial development opportunities using Deepblocks to canvas the market of Charlotte, North Carolina, and show you how we can canvas that market very quickly in minutes, in fact, and find industrial development sites and various opportunities that we can select, and then go through some feasibility studies and different iterations. But the main focus is going to be how fast we can go through and narrow down from thousands and thousands of parcels just to a handful of parcels based on industrial development opportunities and industrial uses. And we're going to actually kind of explore a couple other mixed use opportunities as well with industrial, like industrial with retail, industrial with office, even potentially industrial with residential. As you may or may not know, in Charlotte, there's a lot of tremendous development activity going on. We just noticed a Crescent Communities in Nuveen they struck a deal, and they will be working on a project of 560,000 square feet, which includes retail, luxury, boutique hotel, residential, and also industrial behind it. So, and Class A office space. So there's a nice mixed use project going on. It's going to be a cornerstone of Charlotte, North Carolina. But as you can see, that's just one example of the many development sites and opportunities that are being taken advantage of in a very emerging market like Charlotte. But before we get started, kind of going to jump through some key areas of our website, and then we'll begin our live product demo here with Deepblocks. And if at any moment you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat to ask questions. If you would like to contact me after the live product demo is over, please feel free to reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com. I'm always available to set up a private demo so we can kind of go through and see if the software is a fit and makes sense for you, to see if it can cater to your needs. So again, please feel free to reach out at michael@deepblocks.com. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to kind of jump in again, explore some of the key resources that we provide here at Deepblocks on our website to kind of guide and navigate through our software, and also see the cities that we're available in as well. All right, so right now we're looking at the cities section of our website at deepblocks.com. As you notice, we're in 100 cities with zoning data. Just to give you a little quick brief background on Deepblocks, essentially we are converging various data sets from zoning data, parcel level data, market intelligence like demographic data, opportunity zones, market rates, as well as many other types of data sets and trends into a centralized location where you can quickly identify development opportunities by narrowing down and scanning through thousands and thousands of parcels and refining that search down to just a handful of parcels. Upon selecting that parcel or selecting multiple parcels to create an assemblage, or even drawing your own parcel to create subdivisions and other types of uses, you can then go into our feasibility study and do your due diligence by entering our Explorer interface, where you will see a 3D model and massing. You can enter income assumptions, cost assumptions, setbacks, and basically go through numerous iterations to optimize that site to see if it makes sense. It basically will generate a 1-year back of the envelope return on cost financial analysis, and you can essentially, you'll be able to export to a PDF report, a nice little review of that particular parcel. And again, you can go through different scenarios or iterations. For instance, we could look at a multifamily play, multifamily residential and office. As we're going to look at today, we're going to look at some industrial plays, maybe some industrial with office, industrial with retail. And you go through these different use cases very, very quickly using Deepblocks, and then export to PDF each and every project that you save. That way you kind of say to yourself, all right, you've got to work with your partners and your investors and say, here, this is the one that makes the most sense. Or maybe it doesn't make sense, and you can move on from that particular site and go on to the next site. And Deepblocks gives you that flexibility to quickly streamline this process of ground up development and pre-construction phase to really find the site that makes the most sense based on your development criteria, your development thesis, and then explore that a particular site, optimize it with our feasibility tools, and see if it is a go or a no. And it's just always a way of saying to ourselves, should we put our resources into this particular site, or should we move on to some other site? So you'll also notice that, like as I mentioned, we have 100 cities with zoning data. That's the red arrows. The blue dots represent all the areas where we have parcel level data. We also have tutorials, which are, it's a great section of our website where we have 60-second, anywhere from 30 to 60-second clips, maybe a little bit longer, just to kind of quickly go over some of the key functionalities in Deepblocks and to enable you to maximize your use of the software to really get the most out of it. And as I mentioned, we have our live demos, which we do every Thursday, and you can also do a private demo with myself and our colleagues to really explore the software to another level. Pricing, as I like to always cover, is right now we have 3 different pricing plans: local 5,400, state at 18,000 a year, and then national is 36,000 for all 100 cities. You can get grandfathered in with an early adopter subscription at those prices if you get in now. So, all right, with that, let's kind of get ourselves started and situated. This is my dashboard of Deepblocks, and as you can see, the 2 different interfaces or pages that we have at tied to the software, our site selection, and our feasibility analysis tool. And we're going to search for Charlotte. All right, North Carolina. And this should take us kind of right into this heart of the city, right downtown, the center of Charlotte, North Carolina. And just to kind of, here are the stadiums, by the way. This is where the Panthers play. So kind of give you a little bit of a perspective and idea of where we are sitting at the moment. That project that I mentioned with Crescent Communities and Nuveen is kind of in that Carson area. It's not too far from this particular part of Charlotte. But before we kind of dive into the site selection, just like to take a little bit of a macro level view, and here just to kind of see some of the different areas. Here's our Midtown, First Ward, and then you got your Fourth Ward. So if you're familiar with Charlotte, they're just the different neighborhoods throughout the city of Charlotte. But if you're not familiar with Charlotte, that's kind of where Deepblocks is here for you. We're here to help you scale to new markets and get familiar with these cities using our technology, trusting our data sources and our overlays to really guide you and quickly find that next opportunity. So that's where Deepblocks really does excel. Our zoning data really is instrumental in trying to allow you to find these opportunities and really get familiarize yourself with the city that you might not be very familiar with. So some of the layers I like to turn on is our buildable area ratio layer. This allows us to identify where we're seeing pockets of density for a particular area in particular city. So right here, you'll see that deep orange there's a lot of activity going on, which makes sense as we look at the center part and that central part of Charlotte, just to kind of understand and how that data is sourced in the indexing and the representation of that particular overlay. You'll see our buildable area ratio. It's simply just it's calculated basically the maximum buildable divided by the lot area. We created this type of index. So anything greater in that deep red is a greater than 12 index. We're looking more of a deep orange, about a 4 to 7.5, which is still a very strong index. Again, and it just gives you a good indication of where we're seeing pockets of density and way of kind of focusing on where we're seeing some development opportunities. We can also look at our unit density layer as well. This is another great measurement of seeing where there's a minimum of 100 units allowed, 10 to 100 units allowed, and less than 10. Greater than 100 is the red, orange is 10 to 100, and yellow is less than 10. So again, if we're looking to do a multifamily plan, we're looking to do a larger type of project and minimum of 100 units, we're going to obviously look for those areas where there is red in the this particular overlay. So both overlays are very, very useful and have a tremendous amount of value in trying to help guide you and understand a particular part of a new market for you. So we also can show you our opportunity zones as well, just to kind of give an idea of what we're looking at. And these are potentially have some incentives and tax incentives and tax breaks or abatements. So these are another way of identifying some opportunities in developing your next project. All right, so we're going to continue to scroll back in. Again, I'm going to stay kind of focused in this center part of Charlotte at the moment. Some other things that we can also turn on, go to our people section and look at some demographic data like median income. I'll zoom out a little bit for a second and just kind of get an idea of the different income levels throughout this particular part of Charlotte. You can also look at employment percentages, just to get an indication of some of the employment numbers. At median rent as well, that's more tied to that multifamily population, just to get a feel for the population numbers. All right, so I'm going to go to industrial for a second. We're going to kind of look at industrial rates, get a good feel for the dollar per square foot. Again, this is generated by we're basically taking aggregate of listing data throughout the country, breaking it down by census tract, applying our machine learning to bring a strong baseline of dollar per square foot of rates, rental rates, or leasing rates for each use from residential, hotel, office, retail, as well as industrial. This is the industrial one. We also could turn on road types as well to just get a good feel of the different roadways that are access points, which are very key in terms of determining a good site for industrial. So all very beneficial layers that you can activate very quickly, overlay as you can start to conduct your search. I just like to go through them a little bit to get a little bit of a feel and a little more comfortable with a particular area. And I can always re-enable them as I really intensify my search and get into a more micro level understanding. So we kind of have a macro level approach with that bird's eye view, and then as we start to continue to zoom in more and more, we get that more of that micro level and really get down to work here. So I'm going to disable the opportunity zone for 1 second, and we're going to continue to zoom back in and begin our search. Now, the power of Deepblocks, especially on the site selection side of it, or what we like to say is our ability to canvas markets. We always like to say that we have the ability to do things in a matter of minutes and go from thousands and thousands of parcels just to a handful based on certain criteria. So as you can see, as my screen, as I zoom in, and those blue outlines appear, and try to get as many as possible. Now I'm on just a little background, like Deepblocks is a SaaS product. You can use it in any browser. We recommend using Google Chrome. I'm currently on a relatively larger monitor, about 24 inches. I also zoom out to about, you'll see on my browser, to 80%. This enables me, allows me to really fit in as many parcels as possible into my viewport. The more you can fit into your viewport, the more you can really cover a specific area of a city. So just to kind of give you an indication of how many parcels we're looking at, one way of just essentially selecting all the parcels is going from 0 to 1.5 million lot size. We're looking at 4,600 parcels at the moment in my viewport, just to kind of give a little bit of a baseline of how fast we're going to go from 4,600 to just a handful very, very quickly. Again, I'm starting my search in this part of Charlotte to begin. Again, we always can, some other quick little layers we always can throw on. There's our zoning layers, see all those various zoning codes. We have our census tracts, which break down all the census tracts throughout the particular city. So we have our satellite layer as well that we can always enable and activate as we do our search. So, all right, let's jump into this. We're going to look for industrial. And if you're familiar or not familiar with Deepblocks, again, you can search by zoning districts if you know your zoning codes, or you can search by the use allowed. The use allowed is a great way of refining your search. As you can see, we just by entering industrial, we went from 4,600 parcels quickly to 766 parcels. And anytime we have parcels matching, we can export this out to a CSV file to begin our sourcing resource, and basically it accumulates or exports out all the legal addresses and all the parcels matching. It gives you some key information like zoning information tied to those parcels, demographic information, and it's about 15 columns of very crucial information for your search, and it can all be exported to CSV. So again, you can, anytime there's a match, you can export that out to that CSV file. Obviously, our goal here, though, is to really refine that search to find a handful of opportunities. So let's continue to narrow down our results. Again, we're going to look for a relatively larger buildable area. Let's start with about 250,000 square feet. Now, keep in mind that project I mentioned earlier between Crescent Communities and Nuveen is about 560,000. So this is going to be a little more than half of that. And now we're down to 85 parcels, where we have about 250,000, a minimum of 250,000 gross buildable is allowed. So we're zoned for industrial and zoned for a minimum of 250. We can also look to see if we can find some vacant land by turning on our existing building slider and putting zeros here. And there we go, we're down to 11. So that's a great start. As you can see, just quickly, we went from 4,600 parcels down to 11 based on these three key pieces of information: of industrial use allowed, proximate buildable areas, minimum of 250, and looking for vacant land. So that's a really strong start. So with that, we can kind of start to move the screen a bit. Now, the reason I'm doing that, just to kind of show you the way Deepblocks works, as you move your screen north, south, east, or west, it automatically will update. That's why we explain that Deepblocks can canvas markets very quickly, because we can start in this particular part of Charlotte, move a little bit west. Now we go to the next part of Charlotte. Now we're looking at about 21 parcels matching. You know, if we want to really start to kind of scale north, we can go north and see if there's any opportunities up that way. So it all just depends. And the way you kind of want to operate this is we can continue to throw those overlays back on. Like for instance, we'll put the opportunity zone back on. So let's see if there's any of these are in opportunity zones. And that's kind of one way of analyzing to see none of these are in opportunity zone. Let's see over here. We got anything in this opportunity zone. All right, we got two big parcels over here. Let's kind of just keep moving our screen a little bit. All right, we got a bunch of 6 parcels matching there that are, again, matching our criteria. Just going to continue to kind of stay, I want to stay within a certain distance of the central part of Charlotte. Just to kind of go back to our focal point here. Let's see where we're at. I'm going to zoom out for 1 second, just so we don't lose our perspective. Because the city, the center of the city is right about here. So we're looking at neighboring towns of Charlotte where some of these opportunities are coming up. And I'm going to show you actually one little trick that I like to use to get an idea of how far out one of these parcels matches. I'm kind of interested in that parcel I was looking at that's in that somewhat that northeast corner of Charlotte, a little bit outside the city, which was coming up. Let me just put industrial back in. I believe it was up in this corner right here. This particular parcel. So one way of kind of like getting a good idea of where it is in terms of distance, we actually can use our draw parcel tool to kind of measure, say, all right, this is roughly a little over 5,000 feet in a mile. So we're looking at about 68. So a little less than 2 miles to this part of downtown Charlotte. So not too far outside the city in Tryon Hills. So this could be a great opportunity to look at that particular parcel. So I'm going to zoom back in. I'm going to kind of go into the next level of understanding and analyzing this particular parcel. We're going to look at our demographic trends. And kind of study it. Again, we can put our people layer back on. We can look at employment in this particular area. Just zoom out for a second. Just see this. If employment's a little on the lower side, it is at 51.5%. This could be an opportunity to develop some and bring some new jobs to the area. That's always a benefit. All right, we're going to also look at median income just to get a good feel for that as well. So this is a lower income area. Kind of that between Lockwood and Tryon Hills. All right. Look at median rent. Let's look at that population. All right. Looking at about 2,300. Very, very good. All right. So some other things that we can study as well is we can look at the different trends going on in this particular census tract. So this is census tract 51. And its neighboring is 50 and 52. So let's kind of study 51, those three. Kind of see the population's doing, the trend that's going on there. So population is, it was up a little bit, kind of flattened down, died out a little bit. Let's kind of look at that employment population, which is another key trend we can study to see what's going on, that if that's on the up and up. It sure is. And just so we can see a little bit more defined, you can see right here, nice incline. That's a nice sign and indication of more employment growth. And let's kind of look at that household income to see if that's on the up and up. So again, these are just good little indicators and a way of doing some type of analysis of understanding a particular area, especially when we're studying that census tract or that parcel within that census tract, just to say to ourselves, all right, if we see a tremendous amount of decline in all those trends, that might be pointing in the wrong direction for us. It just kind of depends on what we're looking to do based on our criteria. I'm kind of looking for some upward trends, especially in the areas that I just mentioned. So this could be a really strong play. I'm going to kind of focus in on this one. So again, just to kind of go through that little bit of what we just conducted, we really put in 3 key pieces of criteria, and we're able to quickly identify one parcel that kind of matches my criteria in, it's in an opportunity zone. We're seeing some nice upward trends, and this is a good start for myself in terms of this first industrial play of finding an industrial site. So let's take it to the next step. I'll show you how we kind of do that preliminary underwriting and go through that feasibility analysis. And then we'll kind of come back to this and kind of scan the rest of the market, see if there's some other sites that we can hone in on. But I kind of want to show you from A to Z how we go through site selection, how we kind of conduct the feasibility studies and go through some iterations to see if we can optimize this particular parcel to make it work for industrial play. But then kind of go back and again review some of the market scanning capabilities of Deepblocks. So once you select that parcel, by using our select parcel tool, we start to get some property information. Here's our zoning limits. We can do a maximum of 325,100 square feet. FAR 3, building height 60 feet. There's our zoning district is NS. We can do business and office, industrial, institutional, and we also can do residential. So you can almost do some type of mixed use play here in a sense of industrial with some office, which is something to keep in mind. Maybe you can throw some retail as well in there. As you can see, all the different uses breakdown this is already zoned for. So, we got barber and beauty shops, automobile service, bakeries, some eating and drinking entertainment. So there's definitely opportunities for some retail as well. So this could be a great way of developing possibly industrial, office, and retail into this particular site and really pushing out that ROC to make this a worthwhile investment. I'm going to kind of focus in on that as I do my different scenarios. You get your setbacks as well, and then parking by use. So we get our breakdown of parking by use for each use and our setbacks as well. So let's kind of jump into the feasibility study. I'm going to just start out with industrial just to begin, and we'll kind of add the additional uses as we go through our iteration, so you can see with Deepblocks how quickly you can generate numerous scenarios. So as you'll notice, the 3D model is built based on the FAR of 3. It does 100% lot coverage, so we can put our setbacks to bring this building back a bit. We could either put surface level parking or we can insert parking underneath into like a little bit of a garage. So we can do one of two ways, just to kind of quickly review the way this is set up. That we have our left side, we have our different panels on the left side where we do our inputs to define the building. This, you can define the building height, as well as enter in our setbacks for each and every floor. And I'll jump into that shortly. We also have our just assumption panel where we can enter in the income assumptions and our cost assumptions. We can do it for industrial or work on parking. On the right side, we again have same map layers that we were looking at in the previous interface. One thing I always like to kind of turn on is that existing building layer sometimes, is to get a little feel of what's around, what we're seeing in the surroundings. Here's our return analysis. When you're back in the envelope, return on costs, our assumptions, which is broken down in the various line items with very detailed information. Again, all this is between the back of the envelope and assumptions automatically computed as you enter in different assumptions and adjust the scope of the building. So it's very, very intuitive in the sense and interactive, how everything updates automatically. KPIs down here for you, our key performance indicators to keep an eye on some of the key areas that we are looking at. And then at the very end, we'll export the PDF report. But again, here's our property info we were looking at just a few minutes ago. It gets carried over here. It kind of uses as our guide and parameter for our parameters of the zoning. So again, to just kind of quickly highlight how we kind of construct this and model this to optimize it. We will first work on the parking by use. So we'll jump in for industrial. It's going to be one space per 600 square feet. So all you simply do is you put one space. Now this is industrial for 100 square feet. So this is going to be more like a 0.6 roughly. All right. Okay, and then there's no reduction. Then we can kind of go into our industrial space. We can say to ourselves, we can max it out at 325. Maybe I'll bring it down a little bit. We'll go 300,000. Yeah, we'll just max it out. Let's do it at 325. Because that's what it's zoned for 325, 100. So, we'll leave that alone. Okay. All right. We can adjust our lease income. We'll come back to those figures in a second, but I want to kind of adjust my setbacks. We had 14 and then 10 and 10. So we can go into our setback mode. We can actually uniquely identify each side. Just for simplicity, I'm going to make these all A. Make this D over here. And then I'm going to leave the other ones as B. Again, we can assign each side uniquely for each and every floor. We also have various measurement tools here to kind of understand and sketch out different floor plans for each floor. You can either adjust setbacks in that mode, or you can do it here. I kind of like to do it here with the 3D model. Again, I'm going to follow this was saying it was 14, 10, and 10. I mean, there's a couple of stipulations here. I'm just going to go to the larger setbacks, going for 14 in. And we're going to do, let's see. I'm going to just, for the sake of this, I'm just going to do 20. And then we're going to do 20 here. All right. And you can see that we have the surface area, that pale green, that's where the setbacks are kicked in. All right, so we can then get a little bit creative, start adjusting our numbers. We have industrial lease income. Maybe we can do better than $8. Maybe we can get 10. Again, we are pulling in market rates based on our machine learning. So this is what we're seeing in the current market conditions. But again, sometimes you feel that you might be able to do a little better than what we're presenting. So we'll do $10 a square foot. On the project cost side, maybe the purchase price of this, we can do better than 10 million. Maybe we can get it for 7.5 million. Demolition costs, we're going to put down to 0. We're going to make our soft cost 12%, which is a percentage of the hard cost contingency. We can drop to 4%. And we can even adjust our hard cost. Maybe we can do this for $80 a square foot. And you'll see we actually got that up to about 3.7%, decent ROC. And now we can what we can do is the following. First, we can export this out to a PDF report. you can customize these reports right to your company's to fit your company's profile. So essentially, you could upload your logo, color palette to match the report. You can enter it and write in your own little summary. Here's your property info and a stacking plan, the key demographic trends we were looking at earlier. And then lastly, here's our assumptions and then the return analysis. So that 1 year back, that 1 year return on cost back of the envelope calculations. So what we kind of like to just show you quickly is that we can, there's our first iteration. Now we can copy this project, we can duplicate it. And now we're going to say, let's try to do this with some office and some retail. So quickly, you just add office and retail. And now you see those layers are automatically added in. And you can see our ROC jumped up to 4.22. But we can kind of work these numbers a little. So maybe we want to do about, let's see. We'll do about 60,000 square feet of office. That might be a little extravagant, but let's just maybe not. Let's go for a little bit. I'm gonna actually go up to about 75,000 square feet of office. Okay, and then we can maybe say I'm gonna get about. I feel good about getting $20 a square foot. All right, we can now work on. Now we got to adjust the parking as well. And for office, I believe it was 1 space per 600. So go with a similar number. Retail is 1 space per, same thing. All right, so you can see our parking is expanding a bit. All right, now we can go into our retail side, adjust these numbers. Let's really give this, let's go up to 50, we're gonna go up to 10,000 square feet. You never get maxed out these numbers. You start out with min and max values, but you can adjust them accordingly and enter in whatever you feel that you see fit. So we'll do 10,000 square feet here. And maybe we can get 70. So we're at 5.3 now. So this particular project with a mixed use of office, industrial, and retail gets us up to a 5.34%. We can then export that out to a PDF. And now we have our two scenarios that we're looking at. One that's just an industrial play that's with an ROC in that 3% range. And then we have our scenario where we do some industrial as well as office and retail. And that's bringing us a 5.34%. And again, these might be some modest numbers. You probably could really pump this up and get some more retail if people felt it was necessary. We got our parking in place. We can also adjust our cost a bit. You know, right now we're looking at office is 139 a square foot. Maybe we can do it for 135, and retail maybe we can do for 80. You know, we have to be careful how much we adjust those numbers, but these are just different ways of looking at these scenarios and quickly going through at a very high level to understand the potential of a particular site. So now we have these two scenarios, and just like that, we kind of can start back over and revisit Charlotte, North Carolina, and say to ourselves, let's see what other opportunities are possible. And we can go back and just quickly conduct the search again. And the great thing about it is it automatically saves what we were just looking at. I'm going to add industrial back in for use of lab, but it does keep your any search criteria you already had in place is already there, highlighted. So we are back to having our 16 parcels. They're matching. This is, again, this is more that downtown central part of Charlotte. You know, the reason I was kind of looking a little bit on the outskirts is just because there was some opportunity. There was opportunity zones about 1.5 miles, 2 miles outside of the northeast corner, outside that 4th ward. So kind of in that Lockwood, Tyrone Hills part of Charlotte. But we can now kind of scan south and look for some opportunities down in Midtown area if we wanted to, and see what let's see if anything pops up. You know, I think this is going to be a little tougher area to find industrial, as we will notice it's a little more dense in this particular part of Charlotte. So this is probably more for residential plays, and just to kind of And the reason you can kind of quickly say to yourself, this is not necessarily built for industrial. We can look at our zoning codes pretty quickly, or it could be zoned for industrial. Also have, again, a minimum of 250,000 square feet. So maybe I got to knock this down to 50,000 square feet. We got to look for an assemblage place. So let's see if that changes the tune a little bit. All right, nothing coming up at the moment. And also, I also have vacant land in place, so that could be another reason that we're not seeing any parcels matching. As you can see now, if we turn off the existing building areas, or we could even say we're looking for let's look for a building of less than 15,000 square feet. We can kind of look at it that way. So we have two parcels matching. So here we go. We got another one right here. And this is year built was 2006, so relatively new. This might not make the most sense, but again, you never know. I mean, it's still about 16 years old and might be a play for either redevelopment, and this could be a possible opportunity. Let's kind of see the other ones. Again, I just want to kind of highlight the fact that we can go through and just scan a market, again, with specific criteria in place, say to ourselves, all right, here are some parcels that meet my criteria. Let me just check them out real fast. It's a very fast way of looking for those off-market deals. This is a 360,000 square foot lot. So this is relatively pretty big, much older building on it. So again, these could be opportunities. This could be a diamond in the rough of sorts that, all right, this is a building that's almost 30 something years old that might have the opportunity for us to go in, redevelop it, or figure something out to work on this site to make this a great industrial play. Now, other ways we can kind of understand what's in that area is we can simply turn on our satellite layer. You'll see, obviously, it's a commercial building with a ton of parking, surface area parking. So doesn't ever mean that, even though there's an existing building there, does not mean it's not a possible opportunity. As everyone knows in the development world, that sometimes the best opportunities are those with existing buildings on them. Just they might not be maximizing the current zoning potential, or this could just quickly tell us this is not going to happen. Let's keep moving forward with our search. We got another parcel down here, the existing building. And we'll see this is from the year built 1971. So again, this could be a good opportunity right here. Let's see, it is zoned for industrial as well as residential, business and office. So again, another possible mixed use opportunity. That current lot size, 35,000, existing buildings only 6,900 square feet. So again, this could be a good opportunity right here. And this just kind of goes to show the speed of canvassing a market. I mean, it's only been about a half hour, and we found one particular parcel that met a minimum of 250,000 square feet for gross buildable. I found another one to at least a minimum of 100,000. So some opportunity there. I mean, there's multiple ways to go about your search. I mean, again, once you have your criteria in place, you could do it one of few ways where you could actually search for that gross buildable for one parcel, or we could start searching for a few parcels that are together to do an assembly, just to kind of quickly highlight that, and then we'll wrap up. But as we kind of head back towards the center part of the city, I'm going to zoom out for 1 sec. Get us back to that. All right, Newtown. All right. I'm going to zoom in for 1 second. I'm going to kind of show you what I'm trying to explain. So you'll notice, here's a great example right here. These are numerous parcels, all zoned for industrial. And I could literally do an assemblage and say, I want to take out all this elbow right there, and then these two parcels. So we have these 3 parcels. Total lot size 27,000 square feet. Gross buildable is 763,000. So by just combining all 3, we now really have a tremendous opportunity to develop, and it's all zoned for the following uses allowed: business and office, industrial. So again, another great possibility for mixed use. There obviously is some existing structures there, but I'm just trying to demonstrate the fact that you can do assemblages and look for those types of opportunities to put together numerous parcels to also develop your industrial or industrial mixed use play. But again, thank you so much for joining me. And as we took some time today to kind of canvas that Charlotte market, looking for those industrial opportunities, the industrial sites, as well as industrial mixed use sites where we can do industrial, retail, office, and even do industrial multifamily. But we touch more upon industrial, retail, and office. And again, trying to take a page out of as I mentioned, Crescent Communities and Naveen have a great deal that they struck, and they are working on a massive project of 500,000 plus square feet of mixed use. So a lot of great things going on in Charlotte, North Carolina, tremendous amount of development, and just great time to be part of joining Deepblocks to find these opportunities and stay ahead of that competition, stay ahead of the trends, and really find that next development play that fits your criteria. If you have any questions and want to reach out, or again want to set up a one-on-one call, please reach out, Michael at deepblocks.com. Thank you.